delivery service delivery in the 21st century, the role of innovation, adaptation, and technology. And I intend to use a hotline that will start with the critical roles of public servants. From there, I would like to speak to living and working in a rapidly changing environment, innovation, adaptation, and technology as the tools. After that, I will discuss very briefly what are the challenges of technology adaptation. Number 4, for some of you who have listened to me in my very first coming in 2011, one of the books I'd like to share with you is Who Moved My Cheese? And I'd like to talk about that very briefly as well. After that, I would like to make some suggestions on what I think we need to do. This is a great initiative that the head of service has started, and I could see now and then some of the capacity building programs that are going on. Nigerians are not short of initiatives. What we are short of as initiatives. So I'm going to make some suggestions on how to turn our initiatives to initiatives, and I then conclude. And hopefully, I will run away to go and do the domestic job I'm expected to do. But before I continue, let me ask by a show of hands. How many of you carry Nokia phone? If you carry a Nokia phone, let me see your hand up. Okay. Nokia phone, when GSM was introduced in Nigeria, if I had asked that question, out of 10 people in the hall, 8 would have shown to say they are using Nokia phone. Particularly the 3310, very rugged. And then the people on the high table, they will be using communicator, which was the peak of Nokia phone. But today, what happened? Nobody uses Nokia again. I ask you a second question. In the time past, at functions like this, at occasions like this, we will have seen photographers. Okay? What would they have been using? Polaroid. And some of them will be using Tura or Tudor. Again, nobody uses that. Some of you will remember studying Walkman. And for some of you, particularly where we're in secondary school, we will go to Chapon. Any of our colleagues that had a tape player with 2 decks, that person will be the one hosting our disco parties. Because we usually change from one cassette to the other. Again, where are they? There was a time in the civil service that the stenographers were the kings of the civil service. We used to have Reverend Kuti, commercial school, training people in secretarial studies. And these are people that were called then Emioga. They were Emioga to the extent that the Oga could not function without them. These are people who prided themselves on 120 words per minute of shorthand. And at a time, you have them called confidential secretary. They are not even typing. They were too big to type. All they need to do is to take dictations from the boss. And then when they finish, they call typist 1, typist 2, typist 3. And then they will use Olympia typewriter. And when they finish, they will give the drafts to Oga. And of course, very handy artifacts. You remember all of those? Where are the stenographers in the civil service today? If you're a stenographer and you can do 120 words per minute, please raise up your hand. Okay. I will be answering some of these questions later. I just want to agitate your mind ahead. The role of public servants is not just in service delivery, it's in imparting the society. Has it ever occurred to you that when the military, if under the military, when they abolish the legislative arm of government, the senators, the House of Assembly, they could not have brought the civil servant. They didn't bring soldiers. They didn't bring navarretes. They retained the public servant, and they were clever enough to appoint people like our father, Kodu Adeyemi. They made them an average. They were SSG and also head of service, because they recognized that whereas they could command the battalions of soldiers by just one command line, they could not do so for public servants. So they tried to pacify you by ensuring that SSG and head of service role were merged in one individual. So you are not just engine room for policy formulation and policy implementation. And I remember I worked with two governors closely. And I remember when the two of them came, it took the tutelage of Princess Iyabo Odulate to tell us where to sign. The same way when Prince Akpabio came in 2019 as well. We also had to go through that routines of saying this is how memos are done. This is not a private sector where you give orders. In civil service, before anything gets done, a file must move, a memo must be written. So you are here. Without you, it is possible to run a state without the governor, without the speaker, without all of us who are political office holders. It is possible to run a state with the civil servants, but it's not possible to run a state with political office holders alone. And that shows the importance of public servants. Therefore, your role is not limited to service delivery. You are the people that the masses listen to. When you go to a Kuto market, when you go to Lafayette market, and say this government, I'm only running, I'm at all. That one statement by a public servant cannot be erased by countless press releases by the Commissioner for Information or the Special Advisor to the Governor on Communication. So you are not just implementing policy, you are the greatest national orientation agency for any government. And therefore, you must begin to know that our society cannot grow beyond the professionalism, the quality, and the dedication of the civil servants. Public servants, the elected officers will go. At the very best, we have 8 years for any regime. There's a young man in the governor's office. Meta, I don't know whether Meta is here. Meta is still there. Meta is the governor of Mewaku and say county. Meta was there when Olofime was there. Meta was there when Ewan was there. Meta was there when Oshoba was there. Meta was there when Ogidi was there. Meta was there when the people Amosu came. Meta is there when the Pabion is governor. So, what do you want to say about the governor's office? If you go about, carry yourself and behave, I'm a chief of staff, I am a SSG, like one of my former governors will tell me, you know, they are just looking at us. So that's how important and how central you are to the public service and to nation building. The next item I'd like to talk about, and therefore we must continue to see our role beyond just earning our livelihood. You determine the course of action, no matter the laws made by National Assembly or the State Assembly, or the policy direction set by the political office holders. The real truth is when the members of the public get to the ministry or agency. It is our attitude, it is our approach that will determine the success of that. Let's now move on to the role of innovation, adaptation, and technology. I asked you about Nokia earlier on. Let me also ask you a question. There used to be three banks, and these three banks were very solid. They determine not only our banking space, even when their MDs commented on the state of the nation, everybody will listen. I will not mention the name of the banks, but you will know them. One of them will say, big, strong, and reliable. Don't mention him. Another one will say, wise men bank, until a woman became their chairman, and they now say wise men bank and women too. And the third one will say, truly the first. When I was at University of Lagos, and you wanted to withdraw from one of them, and that was the only bank in the University of Lagos then, you will fill your withdrawal slip, and they will give you a tally number. You will go for your lectures. When you finish your lectures in the evening, you come back, you will have made friends with one of the tellers, so that when you come back, you can present your tally number and you collect the money. They were the Lord of the Manors. You are their mercy. Even though you have kept your money with them, you are their mercy. Now let me tell you what has happened to three banks. They innovated, they adopted technology at very level, and the results show in their current status. One of them that says big, strong, and reliable is still there now. But if you think of opening a bank account now, are you likely to go there? Keep your answer to yourself. I don't want to demarcate any bank. The other one of them was swallowed by a smaller bank. So what remains of the bank today is just the name. The essence, the core, have been swallowed by a smaller bank called Standard Trust Bank then. The third one was a bit more adaptive. And it started what they call Century 2 project. I have spent most part of my life in banking, so I'm very much familiar with the banking systems. I work in 4 banks at least myself, and 2 at management level and head of technology. The third one was a bit more aggressive in terms of innovation and technology. They started what they call Century 2 project. And today, to some extent, they still maintain they are truly the fourth, at least among their generations. The oldest sense of this is to let us know that innovation, adaptation, and technology are the tools for survival. And they are not even options available to all. They are going to be fostered or not. Some of you will remember, if you wanted to go to US or UK for your visa, everybody knows Water Carrington Road. You go and queue there at 1 a.m. If you can't do so, you get somebody to stand there as proxy for you, and you go in the morning. And those officers, even those of them who are working for the embassies, who had never traveled out of the country, they became consultants. They started moving around as if they could influence visa for you. Even the security men, you say yes to them, no matter how big you are. But today, who again goes to Water Carrington? There's a VFS that processes this on behalf of the embassies. Therefore, we must see adaptation and technology and innovation as essential. They are not options as to whether you want it or not. They are fostered or not. And we must therefore, as civil servants and as individuals, and I'll come to that very shortly, be very proactive in being innovative, in being adaptive, and to also develop capacity in technology. And I know I have some lawyers in the house. Lawyers used to say they are very learned. And I say that was in the past. The true knowledge now is technology. No matter the law you know, you are not learned if you don't know technology. The generation that is truly learned now, the generation that can use technology to do things. When we're in secondary school, to have friends, you go to drum and spear and you for the columns or the pen pals. But today, people have friends on Facebook. In fact, someone can have as much friends and followers as 10,000. Therefore, we must have a critical thinking as to where we stand in relation to technology as we speak today. Why are public servants, why are they very reluctant to adopt technology? I have had the opportunity when President Bola Tinubu was governor of Lagos State in 2000-2001, and they embarked on one of the most ambitious technology projects, Lagos State Global Comparison Project. I was fortunate to be a team lead in that project, and we connected the 30 tax stations across the state. We implemented Oracle Financials, and then in one of my presentations, we gathered the civil servants like the top echelons, and I was giving an example of what technology could do. And I was saying technology could help to save the state some money. Now, for instance, a state can determine that this item is 10 naira and put the cost on the system. Therefore, any ministry or agency that wants to buy something, the same item, you only have 5% variance because the system will have defaulted the amount for you. So you cannot buy anything more than 5% variance based on what has been put on the system. And I remember the then head of service of Lagos State. He called me and said, Mr. Consultant, stop where you have reached. Let us have the flexibility to buy the item at whatever price every ministry wants to buy. After all, we have different budgets. If a particular ministry wants to buy your own at 15 naira, so be it. If I want to buy my own at 20 naira, so be it. In my younger days, I used to argue with clients, but I discovered that the project will not go further if I didn't get the buy-in of the head of service and, of course, the rest of the civil service. So I said, you know what? This model, purchase order, is not even important. We're not even going to implement it. Let's just start with general ledger, accounts payable, accounts receivable. When we finish with that, we'll determine which other model we're going to put in. So we step it down. We step it down until we have implemented other modules, and there was a great momentum. So years later, we came back and we implemented the purchase order, and that's why Lagos State Government internally generated revenue moved from 600 million naira to over 50 billion naira today. It's as a result of technology adaptation. And I'm happy that today, one of our commissioners that was my customer then, Ejina Dairo, when I also led the effort to reform the Lagos State transportation system, a World Bank supported project. And that's why we look at the Ministry of Transportation and we discovered that there was a need to separate the policy formulation function from the policy implementation. And that led to the creation of Motor Vehicle Administration of Lagos State has been separate and distinct from the Ministry of Transportation. And that's why the Ministry of Transportation in Lagos State, they went ahead and started printing number plates. And today is one of the most reformed ministries in Lagos State. So I have had the experience of working with technology and innovation. And by the way, one of the most recent, and of course, we need to be careful, is my company that is doing it, not me, for the purpose of code of conduct. The Joint Admission and Matriculation Board. By the grace of God, I designed, or rather the company designed, and developed the system that are running today, that has saved the country millions of money. And on my phone here, I can check the admission process, candidate by candidate, university by university, that's taking place all over the country. So a few factors responsible for civil servants not embracing technology. Number one is because of the nature of civil service itself. Civil service is meant to slow things down, bureaucracy. By nature, civil service is a bureaucracy that has been designed to slow things down. So when you come with a private sector mentality and you want to get things done very fast, they will not say no to you. But they will simply say, okay, we have a way of doing it, we'll come back. Let's look and generate the memo. So just imagine that in this Obas complex, an AC is not working. The maintenance officer will have to write a memo to the director, and the director it will go to the PS Minister of Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs, and from there will be a cross memo to Bureau of Electrical Services of Ministry of Works. It will go down the ladder to somebody who will come and see it to determine what is wrong with it. He will in turn write a report to his parent ministry. It will also go up all the way, and then you now come to the issue of approval for the money to get it done. That will take some time. The Accountant General Office will take some time. By that time, we'll have even forgotten about the AC not working. So by its nature, the civil service is meant to slow things down. The second thing that I believe is also responsible is also inadequate change management and stakeholders engagement. The elected officers come and they want to get things done. The civil servants don't trust them, and they have a way of slowing them down. And I'm going to use JAMB as an example. You know JAMB? All candidates will write JAMB exams. JAMB will print out the results. University of Ibadan, these are the candidates who have chosen you. University of Lagos, these are the candidates who have chosen you. University of Benin, these are the candidates who have chosen you. And what will happen? Some officers in JAMB, they will be traveling around all the states to sit down with the university, and they will be shuffling papers. These candidates have chosen us, and as a former vice chancellor, he had nothing in his head, and they will sit down. The admission officer from the university will come with a long list. The JAMB team will come with a long list, and they will start thinking, we'll give this one biochemistry, we'll give this one philosophy. Meanwhile, as that process is going on, that same candidate has gone to another university to seek for other course. So when we develop the Central Admission Processing System called CAPS, then we started seeing some resistance. The admission officer from the universities will come. And this was in spite of the fact that I had a series of training for them. The admission officers will come to JAMB office, and they will say the system is not working. And Professor Olede will call me and say, or will call the company and say, oh, this thing is not working. So it got to a point, we open a register. You say the system is not working, do what you have done at your university that didn't work. And they will do it and it will work. They will say, oh, maybe because we are in Lagos. And I say, this is technology, it's not voodoo. Write in their register that you came here, you only spent 5 minutes, what you said didn't work, there, right there. And trust Oluyede, he will write. And he will call his vice chancellor and say, Mr. Vice Chancellor, it is like you don't have enough job for your admission officer. He has come to JAMB, and there's nothing he has done here that is different from what, and they will go back. The admission officers in JAMB themselves, they were also not making things work. So at a point I called Professor Oluyede, so I interacted with the officers, and they told me, you know what? Our salary is meager. The only time of the year that we make money is when we travel around to those universities to collect our per diem. When we collect the money, when we get to the university will give us accommodation. They will feed us, so we keep the money. Now you have come with cars that does not require us to travel again. How can it work? It will never work. So I went to Prof and I said, Prof, you know what? We have to find a way of paying some per diem to these people. So they said, no. They didn't travel. How can I justify that? I said, okay, you know what? I will not to justify that. You know what? So we bought them laptops. And we gave them, don't go to work with. Don't come to the office. Be working in your house. You have traveled. Okay? Stay in your house. You have traveled. Okay? Professor Loide, your staff have traveled. They are not in the office. So instead of paying them 8 weeks that they will have traveled for, pay them 4 weeks, save 4 weeks, give them 4 weeks, and they started working in the office. When that has happened, we called the likes of Professor Alibabu, who was then the VC of National University of Education. And I told him, we have done this in Jambo. Your admission officer will frustrate this system. Find a way of paying them some per diem. It may not be for the entire period. This is what we have done at JAM. And when we pay them, well, I don't know what the VCs do, but one of them is here. The system also started working at the university. The point I want to illustrate is that sometimes we think because a system is good for the state, because we think it's good for the ministry, we also think it's good for the staff. Unless and until we are able to also align the benefits to the staff, they will frustrate the technology, they will frustrate any innovation you bring to bear. So the second point is we must also align the interest, no matter how defined, of the generality of the staff, also with the global interest of the state or the ministry. Of course, the third one is also lack of capacity. A number of times, we have had people who joined the civil service 35 years ago, like my wife. People who joined at the time of Olympia typewriter. Now technology demands new thinking, new ways of life. They don't have the capacity. And because they don't have the capacity, they're going to fight it. Resistance is natural for things you do not understand. And therefore, we must also build their capacity and also engage them in whatever innovation or technology we intend to introduce. Having said this, let me now go to us as individuals. I use the example of stenographers earlier on. They were very important in the system. You know what? The truth of the matter now is that no matter the job you do now, artificial intelligence will do it better. If you think you are the best engineer to design a house, okay, don't take my word for it. Go online and search for artificial intelligence. Take a dimension of your sitting room, tell the system your preference, and the system will decide how your sitting room should look like. And I'm not kidding. As I speak with you here now, my house in Abuja and King's Court are under my control. I can know the level of the inverter batteries. I can know when the NEPA should not charge my inverter, when it should only be charged by solar. I can tell you not only where my cars are now. I don't want to say this loud, but I can also know the conversation taking place in my car. When the governor came in 2019, the current governor, whenever I wanted to travel to Lagos, I remember the road was under construction then. Remember at that time, it could sometimes take you 3 hours, 4 hours to get to Lagos. I will call the commandant of trains now, Ogun Yemi, wasn't there the commandant? Please, let some people at Mowe tell me what the road situation is, because the governor wants to go to Lagos. Sometimes we are going to Lagos through Ijebu-Ode Epe Road because of the bad situation. But you know what today? Google will tell you better. So I do not need shame you where able to tell me the road condition. And you know what? If there's a problem on the road and you get there, Google will ask you, has the blockage cleared? Yes or no. You know why he's doing so? Because he wants to tell the people who are coming behind you that the blockage that was on the road is now cleared. So it is no longer an option for you to have to be adapted in technology. And I will tell you this. Some of your jobs may be on the line, but some new jobs will be created. Let me say this very clearly. Nobody needs to call a travel agent to buy a ticket to Abuja now. You do not need someone to do a reservation for you. You can do your booking for an hotel right in the heart of Washington, D.C. on your phone. The tours and travel operators, their businesses have been eroded on a daily basis unless we have something new to offer. A time will come that we do not require traffic warden to be at our traffic joint. The camera will do so, and you violate, it will pick your number. The implication for all of you individually, I recommend you read a book called Who Moved My Cheese. It's a small book. I don't have the time to tell you the full details, but your job is a cheese. Your job is moving on a daily basis without you knowing. You take it for granted that I resume the same people, the same way some people in jam who were adept at using OCR machine, who are adept at using the markers to mark the shaded portions that the candidates submitted. They were been there since 1978. They thought their jobs were secure. They thought nothing was going to happen to them until we introduced CBT, until computers took over their job. And all of a sudden, within a space of 1 year, they discovered that they lost their relevance. In any case, when JAMB donated the equipment to Uganda, that these are the equipment we are using, we are no longer using it, they donated the equipment to Uganda. You, the operator, what do you think will happen to them? For so some of you, your job is moving on a daily basis as a result of technology. And you are not aware, you are not scaling up. You are busy, and for some of you, when they transfer you from one position to the other, you run to your godfathers to retain you there. You fail to take the opportunity of having diversified opportunity and skill. If Mrs. Alaja Otun, if she did not move from the Ministry of Women Affairs, that she had turned into a home ministry, she will not be head of service. If Kennedy Onosoya did not move from I am an information officer, if he did not move from Minister of Information all of the way to become PSP and A, she will not be in the limelight, she will not be visible enough, she will not be head of service. If Dr. Tariq Aigoro has remained as the best orthopedic surgeon, PS Health Management Board, and he has said he has remained in the Ministry of Health, he will not be the first medical doctor to be head of service. At least I can tell the story of those who became head of service, and I have some idea. So for those of you who are here, your cheese is moving on a daily basis. I recommend that book to you, Who Moved My Cheese. Your cheese is moving on a daily basis. One day, you will just come to the office and discover that your relevance is no longer as strong as it used to be. Technology has taken over your job. If you are the best memo writer, ChatGPT will write a better memo to you. So, you cannot fight the copy of technology. No, it's not. It's beyond you. I can't even fight it myself. Technology comes with some risk. No doubt about that. Some job loss, some new jobs will be created. But the new job that will be created will require some new skills. So for those of you who are here as civil servants, whose jobs are considered to be permanent. Some of you do not even have a CV for anybody to help you because why are you writing a CV? I have 35 years to spend. Things will be different. And one of the things that the civil servant used to pride himself about is that no, this is civil service, this is how we do it. COVID changed all of that. The civil service rules require us to be in the office 5 days a week. COVID changed that. At that point in time, only 20% of you were working. The remaining 80% you were at home. At that point in time, teaching was going on, not physically, but on Ogun Digital Edu platform. Today, some ministries and agencies, you have an arrangement where some of your staff are rotating, coming to the office. All of the assumptions that you used to hold about civil service, they have been shattered by COVID. And more assumptions will also be shattered in terms of, oh, this is why we do it in civil service. No, this is not the private sector. Oh, no. We tried before, it didn't work. I'm not going to argue with you. Where are the telephone operators catered in the civil service today? The people who pick the call and say, this is Ogun State, which ministry? And I remember Ogun State used to have a code, 039-240. Who calls now? Who calls? Who do you want to call? I am working in the office of Chief of Staff twice. Nobody drafted my memo for me because a lot is hard for me to write straight from the head. So I have secretary, I have IPs, I have people around me. I don't worry about it. Your banisher fún ọmọ fún your job as teacher. So the same way, your jobs on your life. So the first thing I'd like to recommend to you as action point, forget about the civil service. If from any other thing, be selfish about yourself. Some of you, the same degree that you joined the civil service 30 days ago, in the same degree you are still parading. You have learned nothing. Some of you have the opportunity, even when they send you for training, you are more focused on the per diem than the skill that you are going to acquire. Anyway, election is still far, so I can still talk to you brutally. I hope you forgive me when that time comes. Truth of the matter is that do not even think about Ogun State for a moment. Think about yourself. Go on Udemy and learn something new. Learn about cyber security. Learn a few things about artificial intelligence. Ask yourself, what can I do to improve myself? Even forget Ogun State for a moment. Otherwise, you just discover that, like stenographers, like telephone operators, your job cadre may be there, but nobody will recognize you. The second point I'd like us to do, as a suggestion, is also head of service. Head of service, I can see that we are doing a lot in terms of capacity building. But how many people can we train at a time? I'm suggesting that we need to deploy head of service. Are we together? I think we need to deploy a learning management system. A learning management system that will allow categories, cadres of staff to log on into that system and take courses that are relevant to their particular job functions. In that way, we will minimize the physical contact that people taking time off. They can learn at their own pace. Those who are engineers, they can learn AutoCAD, they can learn design on the system. Those who are into finance and accounts or admin, they can do so. We need to deploy a learning management system. That will be my second recommendation. Number three, I also believe that perhaps at the individual ministry level, we need to have a service innovation unit. A unit that will look at what each ministry and agency does and suggest new ways of doing so. We can make it a competition such that any ministry or agency with the most innovative solution in the last 1 year will be celebrated at the next public service day like this. Without a focus on innovation, without being deliberate about and intentional about innovation, it will just pass by. Let's have a unit for innovation, service innovation. And part of that as well, we need to also have a different mindset. When I was in the bank, there was a case of syndicated loan. Banks sometimes come together, they give out loan to a client, and they come to put their resources together because one bank cannot service the loan. And I remember a particular loan that went bad. All the banks that participated in that loan, they sanctioned their credit officers. Only one bank didn't do so. And when that bank management was asked, every other bank that participated in this, that disciplined their credit officer for not doing enough due diligence. That bank mentioned and said, if the bank had made money from this, we would not have sanctioned them. We cannot be encouraging innovation and also being punitive too much on mistakes being made. So we cannot have an environment for innovation if you also do not allow for mistakes to be made. Because innovation presumes that you are trying to do something that has not been done before, and consequently, you are also likely to make mistakes. But if you punish mistakes, then you have also killed innovation. Let's have a mindset. Let's have an environment that people can be encouraged to be innovative. When they get it right, we benefit. When they get it wrong, we learn from it. So, head of service, let's also look at the possibility of recognizing agencies, individuals. And let us also be careful, because there are some bosses, if their staff is innovative and you recognize the staff without recognizing the boss will ensure that that innovation does not get mentioned. So please recognize the staff, recognize the boss, and recognize the team as a whole. Number 4, in my first coming, I used to have regular presentation on the agenda of the government to top echelons of the civil service. I do know that you have listened to Mr. Governor now and then. You all can recite Ishaya, but what we need to ask you now is that those of you in infrastructural space, do you understand Ishaya sufficiently to be able to come with suggestions on how to innovate it? And I'm extremely very delighted. About 3 weeks ago, I came here as chairman of Senate Committee on ICT and Cyber Security when there was an innovation in agriculture. Can we replicate that under social welfare and well-being? Can we have something similar under infrastructure? We need a regular presentation, particularly between the political office holders and the top echelon of civil servants, for them to understand the core ingredients of the mandate of the current administration in place. When we do so, we are challenging them. When we do so, we are saying we are not taking for granted. When we do so, we are saying we do not have all the answers, and we need you to help us to achieve this mantra that we have put into place. So, head of service and chief of service, we are also here, and the deputy governor. Beyond the civil service day, beyond the public service day, when new directors are appointed, when new permanent secretaries are appointed, let's get them together in a hall and let us share with them in an intentional, deliberate way the mantra of the administration, whether it's Ishaya or any other administration that be in place. When we do so regularly, we are building confidence, we are building trust, and we are saying we need you to work with us to get this done. Finally, we need to have peer review. Head of service, I know you do meet with your counterparts across the country. I know you have National Council on Establishments, and I also know that you have a platform for Southwest Head of Service. When you meet there, share with them our OLANs, our online management system for managing land. When you share that with them, you also get to know what Lagos State is doing. Osun may also have something that we're not doing, that can also benefit us. Let us also do peer review. And when we do the peer review, head of service, let us also be proactive enough to engage His Excellency, to engage his team, and say these are some new learnings that have come from the National Council and Establishment or the meeting of the head of service of the Federation. I'd like to share with you two important tools that I believe can help us to do innovation. Number one is the power of question. Ask questions. When you ask questions, it may lead to uncharted territory that will lead to innovation. The founder of Microsoft, Bill Gates, he was reputed to use two tools for innovation of Microsoft. The first one is question. The second one that he does is to give a blank sheet to any of his employer and say, if you have a magic wand, if you are not constrained, write down what you would like to do to move your department or to move this product forward. When we ask the right questions, and when we allow people not to be burdened by what we have carried from the past, when we give them a blank sheet of paper to say, if you are not constrained, if you have a magic wand, what would you rather want this ministry or agency or the unit to be doing? Let's ask more questions. The more questions we ask, the more we provoke thoughts in our people, and the more we break away from the shackles of the past. One of the banks I mentioned to you earlier on, the one that I said is big, strong, and reliable. Back in the days when I was consulting for a few banks, and we wanted to automate a particular department that they call IBD, International Banking Department. And we are telling them that, oh, there's a need to do something differently. And I remember the head department telling me and said, see, this department, this is how we have been doing our forex. And let me tell you, John Major, he was here when the bank was called Barclays Bank. He was here, he was working here. This is the way we did it together, and that's the way we are doing it. That same bank is still there. It's still there. They are still doing it the way they have been doing it. And I won't say more than that. So the truth of the matter is this: we need a shift in the mindset. A shift that says, if it can be done in the private sector, it can also be done in the public sector. If it can be done somewhere else, it can also be done here. On this note, I'd like to share two quotes with you, and hopefully I'll be able to run away to join my wife for a spend down. And if I don't meet them, I will mention the name of the deputy governor. And I will also mention the head of service, distinguished members of the public servants, of the public service of Ogun State. Between now and next year, some new technology will break out. And it doesn't require any prediction. Artificial intelligence will go to the next level. Some of your jobs will be on the line unless you scale up. And the younger people you are employing into the space, why they don't find the service to be exciting now, is because those of you who are now in the top echelons, you have been winning in the past, and you are constituting some hindrance to them. And that's why they don't find the service to be as exciting. I will leave you with words of Steve Jobs, the legendary founder of iPhone. And you remember that iPhone now combines the Polaroid, the Tudor phone, the Tudor camera you are used to. He has combined it with Walkman. It has combined it with even a library. So your phone is the iPhone is a combination of many things. And when it was asked, Why are you going on this part? It says, innovation distinguish between a leader and a follower. It's not about the title. It's not about being called permanent secretary. It's not about being called director. Back in the days, there used to be a man in Ministry of Information. It's called. Whenever you need to get anything done, in terms of design, in terms of graphics, even if it's 2 hours away, if you call away, wherever you are. Leadership, a number of people mistake leadership with the title. They mistake leadership with the rank. The true leadership comes from innovation. So Steve Jobs says, what is the follow from a leader is innovation. And finally, it is not the strongest, and this is the word of Charles Darwin. It is not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the one that survives is the one that's most responsive to change. I need not add anything more. Congratulations.